Hello there and welcome to CGTN's Global Business. I'm Lincoln Humphreys. Here are the headlines we're tracking for you right now. Green mandates. China rolls out its 5-year renewable energy plan, aiming for wind and solar to exceed 50% of installed capacity by 2030. Aerial Future, the 2026 International Low Altitude Economy Expo opens in Shanghai, showcasing a full future industrial chain and people-centred development. And export support. Brazil unveils $3.6 billion in credit relief for exporters hit by a new 25% US tariff, as President Lula says Washington refuses dialogue. First, a swift look at the Chinese mainland markets for you. Now, where equities staged a recovery this Thursday, the Shanghai Composite gained 0.2%, while the Shenzhen component rose 0.4%, or just over. Now, let's check out those regional markets and how Wall Street closed overnight. China's economy stayed resilient against external pressures in the first half of this year, backed by steady business growth. According to the Ministry of Commerce on Thursday, total retail sales grew by 2.7% from a year ago. Services consumption picked up notably, with household services, culture and tourism seeing rapid growth. Consumption patterns have also become more diverse, with inbound tourism and holiday spending emerging as key highlights. Foreign trade proved robust, with total imports and exports rising nearly 17% year on year, lending solid support to the broader economy. The country remained an attractive destination for foreign investment. The number of newly established foreign invested enterprises grew by more than 5% in the first 6 months. Nearly 4,800 foreign companies increased their investments in China. China has officially rolled out its plan for renewable energy development during the 15th five-year plan period, the National Energy Administration, or NEA, said on Thursday. Let's take a closer look.
China's renewable energy sector will enter a new development stage featuring scale expansion, quality improvement, and reliable substitution during the 15th five-year plan period, according to a document jointly issued by the National Energy Administration and the National Development and Reform Commission. As noted in the document, by 2030, the total installed capacity of renewable energy power generation is projected to reach about 3.5 billion kilowatts, with an annual power generation of approximately 6 trillion kilowatt hours.
By 2030, the 6 trillion kilowatt hours of renewable energy power generation is expected to account for over 40% of China's total electricity consumption.
During the 15th five-year plan period, China will implement the Renewable Energy Substitution Initiative, raise the level of renewable energy consumption in key energy-consuming sectors, and expand the application of green electricity in the industrial sector.
We plan to construct 1.6 million kilowatts of photovoltaic and wind power new energy projects on idle resources, including corporate rooftops and surrounding ponds and pits. And we aim to create a dedicated green electricity direct supply model to achieve local consumption of green power.
The document also aims to promote the collaborative planning and layout of newly built data centers alongside renewable energy power generation projects, explore the spatiotemporal load adjustment potential of computing power across different categories, and steadily enhance the share of green electricity consumed by digital infrastructure.
For years, Chengdu's power grid operated on a single vulnerable circuit. That changed this April with the activation of a solid dual-loop network designed to secure electricity for a megacity of more than 21 million people. Let's take a closer look at how this engineering feat keeps the lights on.
Stretching from the Yudi substation, a network of transmission lines now interconnects 15 substations across 2 layered rings, forming Chengdu's 500 kilovolt solid dual-loop grid. As the core hub of the Chengdu-Chongqing economic circle, the city has seen electricity demand surge by over 8% annually for the past 5 years, with peak loads hitting new records each year. Yet Chengdu generates little of its own power. More than 80% must be imported. So how does this new grid meet the massive appetite of a growing metropolis?
The solid dual-loop system serves 3 purposes. It channels incoming power around the city center to balance loads. If one line fails, the other loop reroutes power instantly to prevent blackouts. And it significantly raises the grid's overall capacity, allowing more green energy to flow in. This gives us the headroom to support new districts, industries, and the rapid expansion of renewables.
Designed to mirror Chengdu's own ring-shaped urban expansion, the grid is also equipped with the world's first domestically developed grid-forming static VAR generator. This cutting-edge device can counter sudden voltage swings in milliseconds. Since going live, the system has pushed the downtown area's power reliability to 99.99% and boosted the main grid's safe load capacity to over 25 million kilowatts, a critical buffer for the city's future. The dual-loop system does 3 things. It channels incoming power around the city center to balance loads. If one line fails, the other loop reroutes power instantly to prevent blackouts. And it significantly raises the grid's overall capacity, allowing more green energy to flow in. This gives us the headroom to support new districts, industries, and the rapid expansion of renewables.
China has unveiled a new plan to become a global leader in sports, setting ambitious development targets for 2030. The blueprint, which covers the 15th five-year plan period, 2026 to 2030, was issued by the General Administration of Sport of China. Key goals include increasing per capita sports venue area to approximately 4 square metres, raising the share of residents who exercise regularly to about 40%, and improving the proportion of the population with a good level of physical fitness to 31.1%. The plan also aims to keep China among the world's top nations in terms of world championship titles, while expanding the total value of the sports industry to more than $1.03 trillion. Official data released in 2025 showed that retail sales of sporting goods and recreational products by units above designated size grew 15.7% year on year, highlighting strong consumer demand for sports equipment and fitness-related products. So let's take a look at some other China business headlines for you right now. China's centrally administered state-owned enterprises, or SOEs, posted stable results in the first half of the year, with combined earnings reaching 1.4 trillion yuan. Fixed asset investment rose 4.5% during the same period, helping to anchor the broader macroeconomy. China's shipbuilding industry hit new highs in the first 6 months. Official data shows new orders skyrocketed more than 170% from a year ago. That's while shipbuilding output and order backlog both surged by more than 50%. And China's summer box office is nearing 5 billion yuan, or $730 million, with a variety of genres spanning comedy, animation, horror and action, attracting moviegoers of all ages. You're watching Global Business, still to come.
The world economy as we know it is about to change. Global business reports highlight emerging markets, developing countries, and dynamic sectors worldwide. We feature top analysts and newsmakers to provide perspectives on every facet of business. From an on-the-ground perspective, we provide you with balanced and objective assessments. Fast, sharp, and insightful. Global Business. Only on CGTN.
The 2026 International Advanced Air Mobility Expo is underway in Shanghai, bringing together more than 400 Chinese and international companies. The lineup underscores the industry's wide-ranging appeal, drawing a diverse mix of state-owned giants, foreign joint ventures, publicly listed corporations and top-tier startups, all vying for a slice of the trillion yuan market. The Civil Aviation Administration of China said the low-altitude economy market topped 1.5 trillion yuan in 2025. That number is about to reach 3.5 trillion over the next decade. The low-altitude equipment sector posted strong growth last year in both production and trade. A recent report showed that China manufactured 176 billion yuan worth of drones, while total drone imports and exports exceeded 23 billion yuan in 2025. Ordering delivery is something common in daily life, but not for those on ships. In the past, sailors only had limited choices at certain anchorages, but that's beginning to change. Our reporter Wu Bin went on one of the ships on the Yangtze River, China's longest and busiest river, to find out how drones are making a difference.
是不是那个？是的。
喂，你好，这边长江会无人机，我现在无人机应该在你船的正前方，你看一下。
我看到了，看到了。现在就放船头位置啊。
啊，行，好的，好的。
好。
And just like that, the delivery is sent. The entire process takes just about 5 minutes, and this is what the sailors couldn't imagine in the past. Now, Captain Pu can order fried chicken, milk tea, or other treats whenever he likes.
In the past, we could only buy vegetables and fruits. It's almost impossible if we wanted a particular food.
What the drone delivers is more than just a meal. It brings a level of convenience and freedom that sailors could once only dream of. The ability to order what they want, when they want, without waiting to reach port. The Nanjing section of the Yangtze River is one of the busiest inland waterways in the world. On average, around 2,000 vessels pass through this stretch each day. In the past, sailors could only purchase supplies at designated anchorages or docks, with limited options available. The growing demand for onboard delivery inspired Zhai Haifeng. In 2024, his team began testing drone deliveries to ships at anchor, and by last year, they had successfully extended the service to vessels in motion. One of the key innovations is a black box installed on the drone.
What this black box solves are 3 problems, which are locating targets, tracking them, and dropping the delivery accurately. Using edge computing and visual recognition technology, the black box coordinates the drone to locate the specific vessel that placed the order without making any mistakes. After exchanging data with the black box, the drone maintains a steady, relatively stationary position alongside the vessel, traveling in the same direction and at the same speed. Once it has successfully positioned itself, the drone uses a locking and lowering system to gently lower the delivery onto the vessel's deck.
The service has been operating smoothly for about a year, with around 300 orders delivered to ships on the Yangtze River every day. A range of supporting measures has been put in place to ensure its efficient operation, including 5G base stations for stable connectivity, a mini meteorological station providing minute-level weather forecasts, and the country's first set of traffic regulations governing low-altitude logistics over waterways.
In the guidelines, we specify the vessels, airspace, and meteorological conditions for delivery operations to ensure their safety.
As China's low-altitude economy continues expanding, the potential of the lower part of the sky is being unleashed at an unprecedented pace. In the city's low-altitude service center, we can see the entire city's commercial low-altitude flying situation on the big screen.
We've launched the first delivery route for agricultural products using drones, regularly supplying fresh goods to nearby kindergartens and schools. And then there's our blood route, a drone corridor that has dramatically cut transport time for life-saving blood deliveries.
Well, this reflects a broader trend across China, where cities are opening up more airspace to accelerate the development of the low-altitude economy. To support the development of the low-altitude economy, China's top economic planner established a dedicated department at the end of 2024. Today, the low-altitude economy is increasingly woven into daily life, from delivering mail to remote rural areas to transporting critical, life-saving medicines to hospitals.
The low-altitude economy is becoming an integral part of everyday life. It has not only effectively promoted economic and social development, but also enhanced the public sense of fulfillment, providing aerial solutions to people's daily needs.
China has designated the low-altitude economy as one of its emerging pillar industries for the next 5 years. Its market size is expected to exceed 3.5 trillion yuan, or roughly $511 billion by 2035, over twice as the entire annual revenue of China's express delivery industry last year. Wu Bin, CGTN, reporting from Nanjing and Shanghai.
Let's delve further into discussions on the low-altitude economy's development. I'd like to bring in Wang Kun, Assistant Professor at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. So where has drone technology genuinely reached commercial scale today? We've seen there the delivery there to the ships on the Yangtze River. And where is the industry still driven more by pilot projects and hype than by sustainable business models?
Hi, Lincoln. Thank you for having me. Actually, the commercial developments are very different across different sectors. From the reports, we have seen some areas are already very mature. For example, the surveying and mapping, agricultural operations, infrastructure inspection, security patrols. These applications are very easy because they have very clear tasks and low risks and obvious efficiency gains compared with the manual operations, so easy to be commercialized. And some areas, they are scaling up. For example, as the report shows the drone delivery, drone logistics. So, and also some other like urban governance, medical delivery. So these scenarios have real demand, but their expansion still depends on many factors, like the weather, like the safety management and the infrastructure. So their commercialization is still progressing and scaling up. And there is another group of industries. I have to say, the commercialization is still exploratory, especially for the passenger carrying, human being carrying eVTOLs, like the urban air mobility. So these industries, they have great potential, I have to say, but they require much higher safety standards and also the very accurate airspace management ability. So for these areas, they are still in the starting stage from some pilot projects before they can reach the larger scale commercialization.
On those eVTOLs, we just saw some vision of those taking off and scooting around the air there. It's long been positioned as the future of urban air mobility, yet widespread deployment remains elusive, as you say. What are the critical technological and economic bottlenecks preventing it from moving beyond niche applications?
Yeah, I think the key challenge for this eVTOL is not simply making to fly. The real challenge is making to fly safely and reliably. For example, the safety reliability and the safety redundancy are very critical. For some passenger carrying eVTOLs, you have to be very safe. So their power system, their flight control system, communication and navigation system all need very high reliability. And also to guarantee the safety, certification and operating standards are still developing. It takes some time for the eVTOL operation to build up the airworthiness certification, maintenance standards, pilot training, and autonomous operation rules. So I think it takes some time to establish this safety standard. Last, taking the people in the air by the eVTOL actually requires a lot of infrastructure. Okay, not only the aircraft, they also need like vertiports, charging facilities, and also, as I mentioned, the digital traffic management system. So all these infrastructure needs some time to build up.
Of course, China is accelerating these efforts to unlock this low-altitude economy in full, but as you say, airspace reform remains very complex with the need for safety there. What are the biggest regulatory and operational hurdles, and how can policymakers strike that balance between safety control and market-driven access?
Yeah, exactly. The key foundation of the low-altitude economy development is the airspace, right? So as drone flies in China grow rapidly, so you have to reach a balance between the airspace opening and the regulation. So in my view, the main challenge is how to move from a very broad control to very accurate and refined and dynamic management. As you know, different regions in China and different altitudes, different aircraft types, they have different risk levels. So China needs to classify and develop a risk-based airspace opening system. For example, for some low risk and fixed route scenarios such as agriculture, inspection, and emergency response, the airspace can be opened earlier and in a larger scale. While for some like the logistics and also some areas in the dense urban areas, airport surroundings, and sensitive facilities, you should manage more carefully. Another challenge is the coordination. You know, the low altitude airspace involves many authorities and often cross different boundaries of different cities, different provinces. So the regional coordination and unified standards for the data exchange, flight coordinations, and safety requirements are very essential. Last, I think the digital supervision is very important. You know, with millions of drones every day, traditional approval and a manual monitoring system is not enough. We need a digital and autonomous platforms for flight filing, real-time monitoring, risk warning, weather forecasting, emergency response, so on and so forth. You have to increase the capability of airspace management. So to summarize, I think the safety regulation and airspace opening, they are not contradictory. Actually, the stronger the capability of the airspace management, the greater the room for safer and earlier and orderly airspace opening in China.
Thank you very much, Wang Kun. Certainly a very interesting area of development. He is Assistant Professor at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Global humanoid robot shipments surged more than fivefold in 2025 as the embodied intelligence industry raced ahead, according to a new industry report released by the China Association for Mechatronics Technology and Application. Worldwide shipments reached about 18,000 units, up more than 500% year on year, with Chinese companies capturing roughly 74% of that market. Industrial robots accounted for 45% of China's embodied intelligence sector, followed by services robots at 25% and specialised robots at 15%. Humanoid robots, the fastest growing segment, are widely seen as the industry's biggest future growth engine. Artificial intelligence is now in action at Shanghai Port, the world's busiest, dramatically improving efficiency throughout its operations. Our correspondent, Zhang Shixuan, donned the safety helmet and went to the cargo working area to see how this transformative technology is upgrading the port's business.
From ship to shore, from stack to gate, is perhaps the most structured chaos on Earth. 55 million units a year, moving 24/7 with no 2 days the same.
This place is like a giant puzzle, and the thousands of pieces are the massive containers.
And it needs to be solved each and every day.
We've mapped over 90 processes, from a container entering the gate to being loaded onto a ship. That's over 4 million data points.
Each of the cranes you see here can handle up to more than 1,320 unit containers a day.
2025年啊，我们关灯公司总共是靠泊作业的船舶是达到7500余艘次，那作业量非常快，流动性非常快。
And this is just one of the nearly 10 docks in this city on China's east coast.
Welcome to Shanghai Port, the world's busiest container port for 16 consecutive years. The containers may have traveled thousands of miles across the ocean, but the last few miles inside the port is a much more complicated journey, or at least it used to be.
Shanghai has been operating its first automated port for nearly a decade now. But when AI is added to the mix,
scheduled in seconds,
real-time tracking of every single crane's operation on the ground.
What used to take a human operator hours to plan and execute is now done in seconds. And the AI doesn't just calculate faster, it calculates smarter. From equipment maintenance to shipboard operations, AI agents are woven into every aspect of port operations.
It really changes the game. AI agents aren't just navigating this multicolored maze of steel, they're redesigning it in real time, every single day.
The AI doesn't just collect data, it connects dots that humans never could.
If handovers are incomplete and a vessel has hidden hazards, drivers operating cranes may not have the full picture. That can lead to misalignment or even containers tipping, which is extremely dangerous.
So what exactly makes an AI agent different from simple automation? To understand that, we went to the company building them, Nice Technology. the AI arm of Shanghai International Port Group. At launch, the company has 17 large agents, from equipment maintenance to safety coordination to yard planning.
A human operator can juggle maybe 6 dispatch points at once, 1 STS crane. But as vessels have grown, we now have over 20 points that can dispatch simultaneously for a single ship. What does AI do? It looks one step further. After these 20 points are dispatched, how does that affect the next round of dispatching? That's something a human simply cannot compute.
It took the company 3 years to develop its modern applications of AI. The trigger point was when surging developments in large language models entered the scene. The AI space in China is making all that happen even faster.
Overseas, most are closed source, but Chinese LLM companies keep open sourcing. The moment a new model drops, if it's open, we download it, deploy it on our platform, and keep pace.
AI agents developed in Shanghai aren't just transforming one port. They are going global, from Central Asia to Southeast Asia, from the Middle East to South America, and it goes far beyond ports and ships.
Airports, railways, any cargo-related scenario, we're already deploying our products.
This is the story of Shanghai Port. But more than that, it's the story of an industry reimagined and how it's pushing the boundaries even further.
上海港去年是5500万，您觉得到下一个这个坡6000万？
It needs AI, and the better integrated our AI becomes, the faster our throughput grows, while marginal costs decrease simultaneously.
所以 AI 在不断帮我们探索港口运作的极限。
Exactly.
The port of Shanghai became the world's busiest without artificial intelligence. But this new technology is pushing its limits even further. It does what it does best: analyzing, learning, and solving the puzzle. Every second of every day.
张诗璇, SMG International for CGTN Shanghai.
Now let's glean some greater insights into the implications of artificial intelligence and embodied AI. I'd like to bring in Jinyu Chen, Vice President of Shanghai Jinqiao College. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. So where is embodied AI generating real commercial value today? And which industries are moving from pilot projects to real scalable deployment?
Thanks for having me. Great to see you, Lincoln. So, as we all know, China is now the world's largest supplier of robots and the world's largest deployer of robots. And China's strength is not only limited to manufacturing robots. China is also leading with some frontier open source models such as Kimi or DeepSeek. And then we just recently had this Kimi K3 moment. After, the DeepSeek R1 moment, which really took the world by surprise. And as the video mentioned, a lot of foreign companies are actively seeking, usage of these Chinese open source models for their to up their game, and which will in turn create more data for these Chinese open source models. So to think about embodied AI or embodied intelligence is really the combination of robots and artificial intelligence. So China is really strong on both fronts. And when it comes to commercial values, we're basically seeing this taking place very fast. Number one is logistics, right? If you think about it, China manufactures both industrial robots and service robots. I think last year, China manufactured close to 800,000 industrial robots, and China manufactured close to 18 million, actually close to 19 million service robots. And when it comes to service robots, they can be your vacuum robots and, lawnmowers, things like that. But when it comes to the industrial side, what we're seeing right now is really, number one is logistics. The robots that we see at the Shanghai port and the robots we see at JD's warehouse. So warehousing and these, scenarios, we're seeing these service robots these industrial robots being employed. And number two is mostly manufacturing. Manufacturing is a very major component of these industrial robots. And it's a great scenario because we're seeing many dark factories being deployed, being established here in China. And Zeekr and Xiaomi Auto all have these fully robotic factories and that deploys many robots. So manufacturing is the number two scenario now that we're seeing right now. So with logistics and manufacturing, we're really seeing this, a constant upgrade and constant deployment of robots. Artificial intelligence.
Of course. Now, in the consumer markets, where are we most likely to see early adoption of embodied AI robots, and which applications are expected to see the strongest demand?
Oh, that's a great question. I think we're already seeing that taking place right now with your everyday vacuum cleaner, your everyday vacuum cleaner, and these electronics. But what we're seeing right now is also the trend moving towards elderly care assistance and also household chores, right? These are the two greatest scenarios we're seeing right now when it comes to commercial value. And with an aging population basically, everywhere, like all the developed, economies have similar aging problems. With the greater elderly, population, elderly care assistance becomes very important. And robots can definitely do a lot of things. They don't have to look human. They don't have to be humanoid robots, but they have to be able to do certain tasks, specific tasks that can that are really reliable. Fall detection and also medication reminders are some of the things we're seeing right now that can be done by these robots, and is constantly changing, is constantly evolving. And these humanoid, these robots are getting smarter and smarter with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, outsourcing the household chores sounds like a great idea to me. Jinyu Chen, thank you very much for your time and expertise. He is Vice President of Shanghai Tsinghua College. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're watching Global Business. Coming up next. Export supports. Brazil unveils $3.6 billion in credit relief for exporters hit by a new 25% US tariff, as President Lula says Washington refuses dialogue.
A vast land of 1.4 billion people. The world's second largest economy. Home to stories of the unexpected, the unimaginable, the breathtaking. Stories that touch the soul. Feel the speed, the passion. Enjoy spectacular natural and cultural landscapes. Feel the thrill of cutting-edge innovations. Discovering China. Global Biz. China Travel. We present the China never seen before. 24/7 at your fingertips.
New US tariffs on thousands of Brazilian imports have now taken effect, marking an escalation in the trade dispute between Washington and Brasilia. As both governments weigh their next moves, the fallout is already extending beyond trade. Lucrecia Franco reports from Rio de Janeiro.
When U.S. President Donald Trump received Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva in the White House on May 7 this year, trade was on the agenda. Less than 3 months later, relations between the two countries have deteriorated sharply. The newly announced 25% tariffs apply to thousands of Brazilian manufactured goods, including machinery, footwear, textiles, furniture, auto parts, and ethanol, while coffee, orange juice, and beef were exempted. A separate U.S. trade investigation could still push tariffs on some products to 37.5%.
I want the world to know just who is telling the truth in this tariff dispute between Brazil and the United States. I'm going to make Trump fight a different kind of war, a war of words.
Meanwhile, China, Brazil's largest trading partner, stands to benefit from the dispute. According to the Brazil-China Business Council, Brazil's exports to China reached a record $58.3 billion in the first half of this year, accounting for 31.6% of Brazil's total exports, more than 3 times the percentage sent to the U.S. The Council's president, Ambassador Luis Augusto de Castro Neves, says Trump's tariffs could further strengthen Brazil-China trade, but the tariffs are just one factor driving Brazil closer to China.
The fact that we are improving or increasing or expanding our trade with Asia, it's not only the consequence of the imposition of tariffs on the part of the U.S. government, but it's a trend that has been followed for several years now.
The dispute has also become political theater. Last year, Eduardo Bolsonaro urged Trump to hit Brazil with punitive tariffs during the trial of his father, ex-President Jair Bolsonaro, who is in jail for attempting a coup in 2022. Now, Eduardo's brother, Senator Flávio Bolsonaro, a main candidate for the upcoming October presidential election, opposes Trump's tariffs, saying they will hand Lula a political victory. Officials here say immediate retaliation is not being considered, but that reciprocal measures remain an option. With the dispute now entangled in Brazil's politics, relations between Brasilia and Washington appear to be entering an even more uncertain phase. Lucrecia Franco, CGTN, Rio de Janeiro.
Brazil has unveiled credit relief worth 18.5 billion reais, or $3.6 billion for exporters affected by the US tariffs. This third phase of the government's credit scheme addresses a new 25% duty imposed by the US on some Brazilian exports. Brazilian President Inácio Lula da Silva says the fund will help affected exporters diversify their markets. He added his government has sought dialogue with the US, but the US has refused to do so. The World Bank has warned that El Niño conditions are likely to push up agricultural commodity prices, posing fresh inflation risks to the global economy. In its Commodity Markets Outlook report, the World Bank noted that extreme rainfall and temperature anomalies typically drive up food prices and vegetable oil prices. The IMF also projects that the climate phenomenon could push up global non-energy commodity prices by about 5%, with the impact lasting 6 months to a year or more. Emerging economies are expected to feel the effects most acutely as price pressures spill over through trade and energy markets. Meanwhile, a Brazilian central bank survey found that the new El Niño cycle is expected to fuel inflation through 2026 and 2027, with food prices bearing the brunt. Central Bank Chief Gabriel Galipolo flagged El Niño as a major risk to the inflation outlook. Now to Tunisia. It's enduring severe economic strain as soaring temperatures drive electricity demand to record heights. Authorities have enforced rolling blackouts, but they're crippling businesses and homes across multiple regions and compounding widespread water disruptions. Adnan Shaouchi reports from Tunis.
Record-breaking summer heatwaves have pushed Tunisia's power grid to its absolute limit. To prevent a total system collapse, state authorities have enforced rolling blackouts during the peak heat of the day.
The state is seriously failing its citizens. As you can see, the heat is unbearable, yet they cut the electricity at midday. They do not consider whether a household has an elderly woman relying on oxygen or a sick person.
The economic fallout is hitting small businesses hard. In local markets, erratic supply surges are destroying commercial appliances and spoiling temperature-sensitive inventory.
When the electricity is cut, what are we supposed to do? Throw everything away? Shop owners don't have the means to replace what they lose. Food, chocolate and other products spoil. People cannot live like this, damaging all the equipment I depend on for my business.
Energy analysts warn that the current deficit is structural, exposing a grid entirely unequipped for climate-induced consumption spikes.
Nearly 50% of the electricity consumed in Tunisia during the summer is used for air conditioning. The country's electricity infrastructure was simply not designed to cope with such high demand.
The escalating crisis has triggered political blowback. President Kais Saied is demanding state accountability as public outrage mounts over the synchronized outages.
Power cuts can happen at certain times, and that is not unusual. What is not normal is this frequency across so many regions and often at the same time. Those responsible must take responsibility and find solutions.
While coastal residents can escape the Mediterranean to cool off, inland communities remain trapped, completely dependent on an unreliably powered grid to survive the heat.
The summer's heat wave has exposed the strain on Tunisia's electricity network. Strengthening the grid will be key to meeting future peaks in demand. Abdel Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
That is a wrap for Global Business for now. I'm Lincoln Humphreys in Beijing. Thank you very much for your company. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.